brought about a wide, dense, and grave contamination throughout the eastern part of Japan. Internal exposure causes most of the horrible consequences after a nuclear accident. This nuclear accident is far from over. Right now, the media never reports that fact. Why is it? Because it's a nuclear disaster. It's about internal exposure. So if they cannot report it, then we, the evacuees, will report the fact here in the Ground Zero, Hiroshima. I was born and raised in Tokyo. I used to live in Tokyo until 5 years ago. When the nuclear accident happened 8.5 years ago, my daughter was only 5 years old. She was healthy, energetic, and a very fit girl who loved to play outside. And then about a year after the accident, she started to be plagued by bizarre symptoms. I feel sick, I have no energy, I'm tired, my head aches, my stomach aches, I can't walk because my legs hurt, my hands hurt to the tips of my fingers, I'm cold and my face is too hot. Mommy, I'm worn out. And after the accident, such symptoms started to plague her periodically. It grew worse. It kept growing worse until she couldn't live a normal life anymore. That's when I found a doctor. He was a doctor who is tackling the radioactivity issues in the metropolitan area. The doctor was mentioning that depending on the child, sometimes these who were unwell in the contaminated parts of eastern Japan achieved remarkable recovery when they were relocated to western Japan. That clicked with me. According to this doctor's examination, the counts of white blood cells of children in the metropolitan area, especially the neutrophil cells, are considerably decreasing. Later, we found out our two children had the same tendency. Anyway, I made my daughter stay away from Tokyo, Toyama, Okinawa, and Kobe. She recovered remarkably when she went to places without radioactive contamination. But when she came back to Tokyo, she became sick again. We were left with no choice but to leave Tokyo. We simply fled from Tokyo. It was 5 years ago, and now I have a 13-year-old who is healthy and loves every day of her life. However, it's not only my family who desperately escape from the city. So often we hear that there is no difference in their radiation dosage within Tokyo before and after the accident. So that means it is safe. We can't use the air dose to measure the level of internal exposure. What we should look at is the soil. That is a thing they are trying to hide from us now. When we look at the soil, it becomes obvious that so many of us have been living with extreme contamination over 100 becquerels that way exceeds nuclear waste by rights. It is the level of contamination which should be sealed in metallic barrels and strictly managed. Please have a look at this map we put here. This contamination map. There are many places with contamination worse off than in the radiation-controlled areas where it should be off limits. to the general public under ordinary circumstances. But everyone lives there as if nothing has happened. We can't hear that in the news. They won't let us know. So many are not aware of this fact. And even if they realize we don't have the right to evacuate, so many cannot escape from this. Under such circumstances, gradually we stop talking about radioactivity. It might even be taboo now to talk about radioactivity. Have you ever heard of blah blah disease? A person finds him or herself feeling groggy and hard to keep up with work like everyone else, having various issues in internal organs. This person is also inclined to catch any sickness, and once sick, it becomes severe. Those are the symptoms of blah blah disease that many atomic bomb survivors in Hiroshima have been suffering since the last World War. We took our daughter to hospitals, but they did not have the clue. When I knew about this blah blah disease for the first time, it struck me that the cause could be the radioactivity. It's been said that very similar symptoms of the blah blah disease is spreading among people in the metropolitan area in eastern Japan. Dr. Shigeru Mita coined the symptoms degradation of abilities. Hormonal abnormality has been observed in the pituitary glands of people who suffer from such symptoms. So there is a dispute that the radioactive exposure may be affecting the brain. By monitoring the hormonal values over the recent few years, it gradually became clear to us that such influence had caused the symptoms our daughter suffered while in Tokyo. Our daughter, although she is enjoying her healthy days since we relocated, suffers the old symptoms from time to time. When she catches a cold, it often doesn't go away smoothly like we know it should. My son and I look healthy at a glance, but our hormonal values are not very normal. It appears there are many people like that in Fukushima, or should I say, in the Tokyo metropolitan area. It's the first time in human history that such a large population is living with such heavy radioactive contamination in a large city like Tokyo. What is happening to us now? Can we come clean? Those questions never seem to leave my head, but no one has the answer. After all, are we the Japanese and our children, protected from those things, are uniting our intelligence and power to protect ourselves from the threat called radioactivity? What are we doing now? In our country, the radioactivity became safe after the nuclear plant accident. Do you realize that they are now telling us clearly that there is no health damage and that the radiation is not a problem? Do you realize that they are adopting various policies to drum those phrases into us? Radiation is safe. It is safe so that no one needs to evacuate. It is safe, so let's support it by eating. It is safe, so let's just dispose of it and burn it as rubbish. It is safe, so let's thin it down and recycle it throughout all of the country. Let's use it as a fertilizer. Let's feed it to our livestock. Let's put it into our farming fields. And It is safe, so let's restart the reactors. Let's keep promoting nuclear energy as our governmental policy. That is what our country is doing. Nuclear bomb had been dropped by humans to kill humans. They are perpetrators. Just like this, the nuclear accident was caused by humans, and what has been going on after the accident is simply violence. Just like the bombing, this violence called internal exposure is the act of humans. It is violence against us from perpetrators. In the reality, humans can protect themselves from internal exposure. It is made possible by staying away from the contamination, by being aware of the intake, and by escaping. However, our country does not allow us to do that. And we don't do that. What's been doing is the complete opposite. We hear them about repeatedly, let's support by eating, recover, and reconstruct the Olympics and eliminate the rumor damage. We're perpetrators while also being victims of internal exposure. The government and the authorities that are cutting off its people by exposure are perpetrators, but at the same time, they're all humans, so everyone is being exposed. In this nuclear accident, the perpetrators are the victims, and the victims are the perpetrators without even realizing it. What in the world are the Japanese doing? So many are under this violence without knowing why they're feeling unwell, why they're so sick, and why they're dying. They'll never be informed nor find out why. What on earth is the reason we must be blinded to internal exposure and live under such violence? Are we constructing a model case to promote nuclear plants by proving severe accidents are not at all a big deal? And where are we heading? Nuclear weapons? The US President, Mr. Trump, was talking about a plan to develop an useful and low-yield nuclear warhead. The existence of issues such as radioactivity and internal exposure only cause problems for those who want to promote nuclear development. It is a crucial point for the entire nuclear industry. And that is the reason now they are saying the radiation is safe to this extent. If we are to hope for peace, if we hope to be anti-nuclear, if we talk to the atomic bomb victims who lost their lives here, saying that we are not going to make the same mistake again, I feel there is something that we must do right now. That is, never let them say, or never shall we say, the radiation is safe. Never create the society that allows such an idea and make us live with radioactive substances. Never allow internal exposure and thus try to create a world where we are protected from the exposure. For that, I yearn for the day when everyone in the world holds hands across the borders. I refuse to let our lives and our children's lives be ruined by the nuclear powers. With the power of humanity, Let's turn this despair into hope. Thank you so much.